America in 2024 was a nation on edge. The air was thick with tension and the streets echoed with the sounds of discontent. From bustling cities to quiet rural towns, the sense of unease was palpable. The political divide, simmering for years, had reached a boiling point. Families were torn apart by ideological differences, and friendships were tested like never before. The very fabric of society seemed to be unraveling. The scars of the pandemic lingered, the economy sputtered, and trust in institutions had eroded. Businesses that once thrived now stood empty, and the streets, once bustling with life, were eerily quiet. The pandemic had left an indelible mark on the nation. Into this cauldron of uncertainty stepped a familiar figure, Donald J. Trump. With his characteristic bravado and unyielding confidence, he promised to restore the nation's greatness. His presence was both polarizing and galvanizing. The man who had once vowed to make America great again, now promised to make America hopeful again. His rallies were a spectacle of fervor and loyalty, drawing massive crowds who believed in his vision for the future. His message resonated with millions hungry for a return to what they perceived as a simpler, stronger time. They yearned for a leader who spoke their language and understood their struggles. For them, Trump was that leader. The political landscape was littered with the remnants of failed presidencies. Broken promises and unmet expectations had left a trail of disillusionment. The electorate was weary and skeptical of the political establishment. Biden's tenure, marked by crises and perceived weakness, had left many Americans disillusioned. His administration struggled to address the myriad challenges facing the nation, and his approval ratings plummeted. Kamala Harris, his successor, fared no better. Despite her efforts to connect with the electorate, her policies and leadership style failed to inspire confidence. The public's faith in her ability to lead was waning. Her progressive agenda, while lauded by some, alienated a significant portion of the electorate. The divide between the progressive and conservative factions of the country grew wider, and the political climate became increasingly volatile. The Democrats, once seen as the party of hope and change, were now cast by many as out of touch and elitist. Their inability to address the concerns of everyday Americans further eroded their support base. The Republican Party, though still grappling with its identity in the wake of Trump's first term, saw an opportunity. They rallied behind Trump, believing that his leadership could steer the nation back on course. Trump, despite his legal troubles and divisive rhetoric, remained a potent force. His ability to connect with his base and articulate their frustrations made him a formidable contender. His base, energized by his defiance and promises to restore America's standing in the world, never truly abandoned him. They saw him as a beacon of hope in a turbulent political landscape. The stage was set for a political comeback unlike any other in American history. The anticipation was palpable, and the stakes had never been higher. Could Trump defy the odds, silence the doubters, and reclaim the White House? The nation watched with bated breath as the drama unfolded. The answer, as 2024 unfolded, would be a resounding yes. His victory was a testament to his enduring influence and the unwavering loyalty of his supporters. And the implications of his victory would reverberate far beyond the borders of the United States. The world watched closely, knowing that America's political landscape had been irrevocably altered.
North and South, medley.
Trump's 2024 campaign was a masterclass in populist messaging. Gone were the bombastic pronouncements of 2016, replaced by a more measured, almost statesman-like demeanor. Well, as statesman-like as Trump can muster, he tapped into the anxieties of everyday Americans, promising to tackle inflation, bring back manufacturing jobs, and restore law and order. He skillfully exploited the culture wars that had become a defining feature of American life. He railed against woke ideology, defended traditional values, and positioned himself as a bulwark against the perceived excesses of the left. His rallies, once again drawing massive crowds, became celebrations of American nationalism and a platform to air grievances against the political establishment. Trump understood the power of social media better than any politician of his era. He used Twitter, Truth Social, and other platforms to bypass traditional media outlets and speak directly to his supporters. His online pronouncements, often outrageous and inflammatory, generated a constant stream of headlines and kept him front and center in the national conversation. Trump's campaign was not without its flaws. His policies remained vague, his promises often unrealistic. But in an era of political polarization and distrust, his message of hope and change resonated with a weary electorate. He offered a vision of America restored to its former glory, a vision that proved irresistible to millions. Trump's base, that fervent coalition of blue-collar workers, evangelicals, and disaffected suburbanites, remained his bedrock of support. These groups, often feeling overlooked by the political elite, found a champion in Trump. His rhetoric resonated deeply with their sense of disenfranchisement and their desire for a leader who would fight for their interests. They flocked to his rallies, sporting their MAGA hats and chanting his name with an almost religious fervor. The atmosphere at these events was electric, a sea of red hats and passionate supporters who believed in Trump's vision for America. They saw him as a fighter, a man who spoke their language and understood their concerns. For many, Trump was more than just a politician. He was a symbol of resistance against a system they felt had failed them. But Trump knew that to win in 2024, he needed to expand his appeal beyond his core base. He recognized the importance of reaching out to new demographics and addressing broader concerns that could attract a wider array of voters. He made inroads with Hispanic voters, particularly in key states like Florida and Arizona, by emphasizing his economic message and downplaying his hardline stance on immigration. By focusing on job creation and economic opportunities, Trump was able to connect with Hispanic communities that valued economic stability and growth. He also appealed to some moderate voters, disillusioned with the Democrats, by presenting himself as a pragmatist focused on getting results. His message of cutting through political red tape and delivering tangible outcomes resonated with those tired of partisan gridlock. Trump's rallies were more than just political events, they were cultural phenomena. These gatherings were a unique blend of political discourse, entertainment, and community bonding, creating an experience that was both energizing and unifying for his supporters. They were a potent mix of entertainment, grievance airing, and political theater. The rallies provided a platform for Trump to address his supporters directly, bypassing traditional media channels and reinforcing his message of fighting for the common man. Country music blared, vendors hawked Trump merchandise, and the crowd roared with approval as their champion took the stage. The festive atmosphere was a stark contrast to the often somber tone of traditional political events, making these rallies a memorable experience for attendees. These rallies served a dual purpose. They energized the base and provided a powerful counter-narrative to the often negative media coverage of Trump. By showcasing the enthusiasm and dedication of his supporters, Trump was able to project an image of strength and resilience. The energy at these rallies was palpable, a testament to Trump's enduring appeal. The sense of camaraderie and shared purpose among attendees created a powerful sense of community, reinforcing their commitment to Trump's cause. People from all walks of life, united by a shared sense of frustration and a belief in Trump's ability to shake up the system, came together in a show of force that sent a clear message to the political establishment. We are here, we are not going away, and we are voting for Trump. This diverse coalition, bound by a common desire for change, demonstrated the broad appeal of Trump's message and the depth of his support. In the end, the 2024 election came down to one issue above all else: the economy. It was the bread-and-butter issues that dominated the conversation, the ones that hit closest to home for everyday Americans. From the cost of groceries to the price of gas, these were the concerns that voters carried with them to the polls. Trump hammered away at the issue relentlessly, blaming the Democrats for inflation, rising gas prices, and the loss of manufacturing jobs. He painted a picture of an America in decline, where hardworking citizens were being left behind by policies that favored the elite and foreign interests. He promised to bring back jobs from overseas, unleash American energy production, and put more money in the pockets of working families. His speeches were filled with promises of a brighter future, where American industries would thrive once more, and families would no longer have to worry about making ends meet. His economic message resonated with voters struggling to make ends meet. For many, the promise of job security and financial stability was a powerful draw. They saw in Trump a leader who understood their struggles and was willing to fight for their interests. The stock market might have been booming, but for many Americans, the economic recovery had passed them by. The gains on Wall Street did not translate to better wages or job security for the average worker. This disconnect fueled a sense of frustration and disillusionment. They felt squeezed by the rising cost of living, frustrated by stagnant wages, and anxious about the future. The daily grind of trying to make ends meet left little room for optimism. It was this pervasive sense of economic insecurity that Trump tapped into with his campaign. Trump offered them a simple message: I feel your pain, and I will make things better. He positioned himself as the champion of the common man, someone who would take on the establishment and bring about real change. He pointed to his record on the economy during his first term, highlighting the tax cuts, deregulation, and booming stock market. He argued that these policies had laid the groundwork for a strong economy, and that he was the only one who could continue this progress. He argued that his policies had unleashed American prosperity, and that only he could restore the economy to its former glory. His vision was one of a resurgent America, where industries flourished, and the American dream was within reach for all. His opponents countered that his policies had primarily benefited the wealthy, and that his trade wars had hurt American businesses and consumers. They pointed to the tariffs and trade disputes that had disrupted supply chains and increased costs for consumers. But in the court of public opinion, Trump's economic message resonated. His ability to connect with voters on a personal level, to speak to their fears and hopes, gave him a significant advantage. He tapped into a deep well of anxiety and offered a message of hope. His rallies were filled with chants of "Make America Great Again," a slogan that encapsulated his promise to restore the nation's economic strength. He promised to restore economic security, bring back jobs, and make America great again, one deal at a time. His vision was clear, and for many, it was a vision worth believing in. And for millions of Americans, that was a promise they were willing to believe. In a time of uncertainty, Trump's message of economic revival and national pride struck a chord, making the economy the defining issue of the 2024 election.